Good day everyone. I told you it was coming and now it's finally here. Today I'm going to review my brand new cell phone. This is a Nokia Lumia 635 Windows phone that I got for Christmas this year. Now, if you're watching this video and you're not one of my regular subscribers, I do want you to know that this isn't going to be your usual cell phone review because I come from quite a different cellular background than most people. This is only my second cell phone ever, and it's actually my first smartphone. The phone that this replaced was a 9-year-old Samsung flip phone. So, I have no past experience with smartphones that I can compare this to. The only thing I'll be able to compare is, stuff that I can compare with my old phone, like the audio quality in calls. And I can compare specs with other phones and what little I've seen of a couple other models of phones and stuff like that. So yeah, this isn't going to be your usual review. With that in mind, if you by chance have a cellular background like mine, then this review ought to be pretty good for you. The Lumia 635 is a minor upgrade to the Lumia 630. All the 635 adds is 4G cellular network compatibility. This phone was introduced in June of 2014, and it was basically positioned as a replacement to the very popular Lumia 520. It's got a Snapdragon 400 quad-core 1.2 GHz processor, 512 megabytes of RAM, 8 gigabytes of onboard storage, and it's got a 4.5-inch IPS display with an LED backlight. And this natively runs Windows Phone 8.1. It debuted with the Lumia Cyan software update. The Denim update, which came out just a couple of months ago, the Lumia 635 is shipping with Denim now, and people who bought it before it started shipping have been able to upgrade it so far. I have not received the Denim upgrade for this yet. I've been looking, and I'm not the only one. It seems that phones on certain carriers are getting the update before phones on other carriers. And this phone's actually a factory unlocked version. So evidently the factory unlocked version has not received the Lumia Denim update yet either. For reference sake, I'm in Canada. I'm on the carrier PC Mobile, which is a virtual operator off of Bell's cellular network. And yeah, I had to buy the factory unlocked version because neither PC Mobile or indeed Bell offer the Lumia 635. And in fact, I know PC Mobile doesn't offer any Windows Phone. I don't think Bell offers any Windows Phone either. So I bought this straight off of the Canadian Microsoft Store. It was $230 shipped, and you can now get one for $180 shipped. So why did I decide on this particular phone? Well, I decided a long time ago that whenever I got a new cell phone, I wanted it to be a Windows Phone. What really sold me on Windows Phone was the user interface. I got a good friend of mine, he has a Lumia 520, and I played with it quite a bit when he first got it. And basically, I fell in love with the user interface. He fell in love with the user interface too, and when I saw it, I just absolutely loved the Windows user interface. Not only because of its aesthetics, but because its intuitiveness and overall design. And I'll get into that more in this video. But yeah, I decided I wanted to get a Windows phone. And of course, it was a pretty easy decision to make. Out of any Windows phone, I wanted to get a Nokia Lumia. It's kind of an intuitive choice. It's basically the same. If you want an Android phone, you want to get either a Samsung Galaxy phone or a Google Nexus phone. They are the de facto, if you will, Android devices, and likewise the Nokia Lumia is the de facto Windows Phone device series. So here's the box. Quite a nice box. It slides open, and they give you lots of documentation. It's worth mentioning that the Lumia 635 is the very last new Lumia model that will bear the Nokia name. All models that have been introduced after this are branded Microsoft. So Microsoft has officially done away with the Nokia name, at least on the Lumia phones. The basic phones are still going to be branded Nokia, because Nokia is a huge name in the markets where basic phones are still really popular. It's come a long way, that's for sure. So now let's take a look at the phone itself. The display, indeed the whole entire front of the phone, is Gorilla Glass 3. However, it does not have an oleophobic coating, meaning that finger smudges and stuff do show up more easily and they are slightly more difficult to wipe off. But that's fine by me. Like I said, I'm coming from a 9-year-old flip phone, so I basically, whatever faults this thing has, and indeed there are a few and I will go into them in this video, I don't care in the slightest. So it's a 4.5-inch display, IPS. You got the earpiece there. This does not have a light sensor, and it does not have a proximity sensor, which you'll find on the higher end Lumia phones, and the proximity sensor you'll even find on some Lumia phones that are positioned lower than this. So that's kind of missing. But how it makes up for the proximity sensor is it basically uses the display itself. If you're in a call and the display all of a sudden senses, just a mass touch to the display, it'll assume you're pressing your face on it and it'll disable the display. And that actually works quite well, I can confirm. Something else you'll notice missing, now I don't know if this was the very first Lumia phone to do this, but it was certainly one of the first. The hardware buttons for the back button, home button, and search button, they're gone now. They've now been implemented into the user interface itself. They are part of the bottom line of the display. And I should mention that the display is 480 pixels by 854 pixels. And the standard is 480 by 500, while the extra 54 pixels that this has is indeed for the what used to be the hardware buttons. They've been implemented quite well though. I haven't picked up on any bugs or anything. They work exactly like the original hardware buttons. I say hardware, they were touch buttons, but they were built into the body of the phone and not to the user interface. But yeah, it works perfectly well, very seamless. And actually it's quite nice because when you tilt the phone and the user interface rotates, the little icons rotate as well. So that's kind of cool. Going around the sides on the bottom, you have a standard micro USB port. And it's strange because unlike other models of Lumia phones, you are not provided a USB cable with this. You are provided with an AC adapter. Here it is. And the adapter works well enough. The cable's a little thin for my taste, but it does work just fine. And yeah, you get that, which is all well and good, but you don't get a USB cable. And I would have rather had gotten a USB cable. So I had to go to Walmart and buy one. I bought one for 10 bucks or so. But yeah, I wish they would have provided a USB cable instead of an AC adapter, but oh well. The upside is the AC adapter charges the phone much faster than a USB cable does. On the left side, we have nothing. On the right side, we have a power button, and we have volume buttons. I know that the Lumia 520 had a dedicated camera button down here somewhere, which this does not, but I don't mind that at all. It's quick enough to go into the user interface and go to the camera from there. On the top, you have a headphone port, and on the back, you have the camera and the Nokia logo, and you have the speaker there. Of course, like all Lumia phones, this is available in a wide range of colors. I of course got the black, and it is matte plastic, which I really like. I'm really glad that they opted to do that instead of glossy plastic like they do on the other colors. The matte feels, I guess the only way I can put it, it feels more expensive. The matte feels like a higher class finish than the glossy plastic does. Glossy plastic to me always feels really cheap, and of course it picks up fingerprints too, while this, well, picks it up very slightly, but nowhere near as bad as glossy plastic. So yeah, I'm really glad that they chose that for the black one. The camera physically sticks out very, very, very slightly. And I don't like that because that means it's more susceptible to getting scratched up. But luckily, I did buy a case for this phone, which I'll review at the end of this video. And the case, of course, fixes that problem. The loudspeaker, again, I have never had another smartphone, so I have nothing else to compare it to. All I can say is based on comparison to absolutely nothing. The loudspeaker gets very loud and it sounds excellent. One of the staples of the Lumia range as a whole is that they are very well built. They feel very high quality, and indeed tests and accidents have shown that they are very durable as far as smartphones go. And I would agree with that wholeheartedly with this phone. This phone feels very high quality. You know, it might be entirely plastic on the back, but it still feels very high quality. The plastic buckles very, very little, if at all. And yeah, it's a very high quality feeling phone. And drop tests have concluded that, you know, compared to most smartphones, these hold up really well against accidental drops. And that's very nice. Another nice thing about this phone is that the overall shape of it makes it very nice to hold. You know, smartphones these days, they're really thin. They're not always designed with ease of holding in mind. A lot of people opt to buy cases for the sole reason that it makes it easier for the phone to hold. And you know, especially phones that are not only thin, but they're rounded at the sides and stuff, it makes it easy to accidentally drop them. This thing, on the other hand, not only has very reasonable thickness, but it's actually squared off at the sides. It's got kind of this angular design, and that makes it very good to hold. It's very solid in the hand, you know, very little risk of, you know, it slipping out like that or something. Very nice, and this is quite an improvement, I think, over the 520, which had kind of a rounded design that was really thin at the sides. So yeah, big points overall for the physical design. Excellent, excellent. Likewise, the buttons feel very high quality as well. You know, they don't feel like they're gonna break or anything like that. Very nice. Top points for design and for quality, I think. Here's another really big plus, and this is also a staple of the Lumia line. You know, they look, by their design, they look like a sealed design, like something like the iPhone or some other more expensive phones. They look like a sealed design that's not meant to be opened or anything like that. You can see, let's see if I can get a good focus there. I've had to switch to manual focus, so hopefully it's in focus, but you can see that the fit between the back cover and the front of the phone is very, very nice. So you'd think that this is a sealed unibody design, but indeed it is not. The back cover is removable. This serves kind of a dual purpose. Not only do you get to interchange covers, so get covers of different colors if you want to, but this does have a replaceable battery, which is very, very nice. So I'll show you how to remove the back cover. It was very intimidating at first, but after the first time I did it, it became very easy to do. It's kind of scary the first time you do it, because you feel like you're gonna, you know, like break the screen, snap the phone in half or something, but it's very easy actually. What you do is you put your thumb on the back and take, you know, 2 or 3 fingers and put them up on a corner, press with your thumb and pull with your fingers, and it comes right off. Easy, simple as that. Here's the back cover. That's about it. And here's the back of the phone with my IMEI covered. So you have the battery, and one of the things I should say that the 630 and 635 improved over the 520. Well, I can't get the battery out. But battery life was improved by a significant amount over the 520. I forget what official figures are, but I can tell you that with how much I use this phone, and I check it, you know, quite a few times throughout the day, I'd probably get 3 days of use out of charge. Here's the battery. It's a Nokia model BL5H. And there's where it goes. And with the battery out, you can replace your SIM card, which goes in there. It's a micro SIM. And there's also a slot right there for a micro SD card. Now the phone comes with 8 GB of onboard storage. Out of the box you get a little less than 4 GB free. When you record video you can use it up pretty quickly. I think that space is only enough for like 10 or 15 minutes of video. And you know, if you put your music collection on this, you might not have enough space at all. So yeah, it's good that they give you the option to use a micro SD card, because I'm certain that a lot of people would need it. Loudspeakers right there. And if you look here, the phone's actually held together with screws. And I think that's pretty great. I don't know how many phones are held together with screws. Maybe a lot of them are, but I thought nonetheless, that's very neat and another testament to the build quality of this phone. So putting the back cover back on is easy enough. You just kind of put it on the phone and snap it all into place. Press all around, make sure all the snaps go in. It's all back on. Well, I say it's about time we turn this on. Get to the software side of things. It buzzes. You get Nokia. And then you'll get the Windows logo. Now while this is booting up, I'll get right into it. Phone call quality is excellent. It is as good, if not better, than my old flip phone. I can hear everyone just fine, and other people can hear me just fine. Alright, so for the software side of things, well, here's the glance screen when you come out of standby. I've got it set to show the weather, and it's quite nice. And also, if there have been any missed calls or texts or emails come in, they'll show up on the bottom. I've got a meeting with a group tomorrow, so it's showing me that too. I use the calendar app a lot on this thing. The calendar app's really great, very well designed. Anyway, we swipe up, and here's the start screen. It works extremely well here. You can put any apps on here, and of course, many apps support showing extraneous data when the size of the tile that they're set to allows it. And of course, you can arrange tiles any which way. Pretty much all of them support 2 or even 3 different sizes for some of them. And yeah, it works really well. And if you swipe down from the top here, you get some quick buttons. So if you want a shortcut to go to a particular setting, that's really nice. There's quite a few of them, but I have set for to go to Wi-Fi. You can lock the orientation. So if you want to use the phone sideways, if you're lying down in bed or something, you can do that. That's really nice. That was a feature I always missed on my iPod Touch. It was one of my favorite features when I jailbroke my iPod Touch. I have a thing to directly go to the camera app, although I never use it. I just go to the camera from the home, from the start screen. And you have brightness control, just like that. So that's really nice too, and of course a shortcut to go to the settings menu. And if you have any calls, texts, emails, or any other notifications, they show up here as well. And here you can see the 3 software navigation buttons. And if I go into an app like the camera that supports the landscape orientation, and I turn it around, you can see the icons spin around too. So that's pretty neat. The texting apps right here, and it works very nice. Email's easy to set up, especially if you already have a Microsoft email address like I do, and it's easy enough to write an email. Something that is missing though, in Windows Phone 8.0, you could actually message someone on Facebook using, well, not using the email app, actually using the texting app. The texting app was a general messaging hub, and from the messaging app you could either text or Facebook message, and I think you might have been able to Skype or even email someone from it as well. And it worked really fluently and really well, because if someone texted you and you reply to them, your reply would be sent via text. But if that same person later messaged you on Facebook and you replied to them, it would be sent over Facebook. And it was really nice, and they removed this from Windows Phone 8.1. Nobody knows why, and it really is a missed feature. That's too bad. Especially now, because Facebook has stupidly decided for some reason that you can't message someone from within Facebook anymore. You need a whole separate Facebook Messenger app, which I have right there, and that's really stupid. And I don't know about the other smartphone platforms, but the Windows Phone version doesn't even support landscape orientation. You turn it sideways, and you can't type sideways. And whenever I want to type something, I always like to do it in landscape orientation. I hate trying to type in portrait mode, and a lot of apps, and indeed the Facebook messaging app, just don't support that. And I found the same with my iPod Touch too. And even some parts of the user interface itself don't support typing in landscape mode, so that's too bad. But oh well, I know it's not unique to Windows Phone. My iPod Touch was exactly the same way. Something I do like about the keyboard though, I'll type a mock text message here. Something that I believe is unique to Windows Phone is that you can actually swipe on the keyboard and it predicts what you're typing. So let's say I want to type the word absolutely. Now I gotta bend over and look at the phone itself to do this. But if I just swipe across the letters for absolutely, absolutely, there you go. Of course, when I'm not behind a camera, it's a lot easier to do. But I really like it, and whenever I have to type in portrait mode, I always swipe. And the user interface itself is really fast and really fluent, and that's one general praise about Windows Phone compared to Android, is it works really well on low-end hardware. Very, very fast and fluent, hardly any lag ever, and yeah, it's very nice. Now this phone is really missing, for its position in the Nokia Lumia lineup, this phone is missing quite a few hardware features, not the least of which is that it only has 512 megabytes of RAM, the same that the 520 had. And while this is fine, the user interface obviously has no problem with this relatively small amount of RAM. There are some apps that need a gigabyte of RAM to work, so those apps will not work on this phone, so keep that in mind. However, it has not been confirmed by a reliable source, but I did read on Phone Arena that Microsoft may actually be upgrading the 635 to have a gigabyte of RAM. And yeah, that's really nice if they actually do that, and it'll make me a little bit jealous, assuming they keep it at the same price, because that'll give a big advantage over the older versions of this phone, which have half a gig of RAM. The web browser, obviously it's Internet Explorer, based on Internet Explorer 11, I believe. And yeah, I like it. It works just fine. And I find no problems with it. You get tabs that you can see there. Something I really like, because I know it was a limitation of the iPhone. Maybe it still is, I don't know. But if you go to YouTube and you click on a video, it'll actually play in a window if you want it to, instead of full screen. Turn the volume up here. As I said before, speaker, at least I have no other smartphone to compare it to, but the speaker is really good.
And I'm once again joined by the likes of Wade!
Hey guys!
Hey, you're awfully cheerful and peppy this morning. How are you doing?
This morning, I feel great after last night.
One thing I don't like about the user interface though is when you're watching a video, if you adjust the volume, the thing that tells you your volume takes up literally half the display. Like, it doesn't need to be that huge, and I tend to adjust volume a lot when I'm watching a video. I think, you'd think they'd at least, make it a bit smaller, or even eliminate it altogether. If you're watching a video, you don't need to know what number it's at if sound is already playing. While I'm thinking of it, one thing I do not like at all is the music app. I don't like the music app in the slightest. And I asked Brandon if I was crazy. He doesn't like the music app either, to the point where he uses an old iPod Nano for his music collection, not his phone. And yeah, it's... well, the user interface isn't its only problem. It's showing songs on there, which I have not had on this phone for a long time. I put just those 2 songs on there. Oh, that's the recent plays list. Never mind. I'm stupid. I thought it thought those songs were on there. I've got just 1 song on here now. But you go to play it. Yeah. And it plays just fine. But the thing that really kills me about it is the seek bar. It's really small, and when you try to seek, if you can even grab a hold of it, I'm gonna quiet Bob Dylan down a bit. Yeah, the seek bar is what kills me. I like to seek in my songs a lot if I want to replay part of a song, and it's just impossible, at least with some of the longer songs, which a lot of my music collection is very long songs. It's impossible to seek to a particular point, like even this short song, which is only 3 minutes. You know, just one pixel slides you over by like 3 or 4 seconds, and yeah, I don't like the seek bar at all. It's too thin, and its short length makes it too finicky to use. If they fix that, I would use it, but in its current state, I don't like the music app at all, and I'm not going to use it. I've got my 30 gigabyte iPod 5th generation. I'll continue to use that for my music collection. I know there's alternatives in the store. One of them's free. I believe I tried it, and I didn't like it either. And then there's some which you pay for. If they made the music app, I know this is really hypocritical to say, but if they make the music app more iPod-like, then I'd be more inclined to use it. Of course, up at the top, you've got your cellular signal strength indicator and a Wi-Fi signal strength indicator. And you get little arrows there to show if data is being downloaded or uploaded. You also get a battery indicator and the time. If you swipe down to the notifications, show what network you're on and stuff, and you get battery percentage and the date, which is nice. Something else I wanted to show. You saw earlier that in the quick settings here you have display brightness low, medium, or high, and this is quite a nice system, you know, not as finicky as having perfectly variable brightness, but nonetheless I did miss having variable brightness, and it wasn't for like 2 weeks I had this phone when I realized that you do have variable brightness. If you go into the settings, and by the way, while I'm at it, I hate the settings menu here. It's not arranged in any seemingly logical order. They could at least put it in alphabetical order or something, but anyway, you go into settings and you go to display, and you can adjust the brightness of each of the levels, low, medium, and high. And that's pretty darn awesome. For the purposes of this video, I use low set there so that it looks fine on the camera. But usually I have it turned all the way down. I usually keep medium all the way down, and I usually keep high all the way up for when I'm outside. And it's very bright, and it is very easy to see outside. This phone supposedly has the clear black display technology like the other Lumia phones have. However, some articles I've read say that that's not true. This actually doesn't have the clear black technology, so I don't know whether it really does or doesn't, but all I can say is in pretty much all viewing circumstances, the display is very easy to see. Weather app based on MSN Weather. It's nice, of course, on the glance screen there. Gives you a basic outline and the temperature. I really like that. Every time I get up in the morning and get ready to school, I just look at the glance screen, see what the temperature is, and yeah, gives it on its little tile there, gives the next couple of days. Although I find, well, today's Saturday, no, it's Sunday morning because it's almost 2 o'clock in the morning now, and it's still showing me Friday. So yeah, sometimes the tile and the app itself lags behind the actual weather, but the glance screen I've always found is up to date. But if I go into the app here, yeah, it's showing the current weather now, but yeah, it's nice enough. I like how you can get the hourly stuff as well. Calendar app, I said earlier in this video, I love it. It was designed extremely well. You know, you can go to any day, and you can view the details of any pre-existing events, or you can add a new event, and you can set everything like the time it starts and ends, and if you want it to remind you before it's supposed to start, and yeah, it works really well. I love the calendar app. And you can set it to vibrate or make a sound for the alert and everything. It works really well. I love it a lot. And it'll even send you an email to alert you of an upcoming event. That's really nice. One problem I had was the first day I got this thing, I was putting the contacts from my old phone into this phone. I went into the People Hub here, and I loaded all my contacts. I just added them all as new contacts. Then I had this thing tied to my Microsoft email account. And when that happened, all the contacts of my email account got added to this list of contacts. So now I had duplicates of people, and I had some people which I didn't want in my contacts list. Some of them didn't even have phone numbers. Now you can go into the settings and tell it not to show contacts with phone numbers, but I wish there was a setting where it doesn't show contacts from your Outlook email contacts, just contacts which you've manually added to the phone. I wish there was a setting to show that, but there's not. So yeah, I kind of miss that too. So what I ended up doing was I just removed duplicates and amalgamated some duplicates into one account, and I got it all sorted out now. Now it's just my cellular contacts that show up here. But yeah, I wish they'd kind of make that a bit more intuitive to people who are moving over from a standard non-smartphone. Likewise, the People app has this really weird bug, whereas the next section that you swipe over to bleeds out onto the current section. That's really weird. Like, you can see a little piece of the rightmost section there, and there the P of people is cut off from the left. It's like shifted too far to the left. And I've only noticed it on this app. It's really weird. Another app I really like is the Data Sense feature. Now, I have a data plan on my phone, 100 megabytes for $10 a month. And what this Data Sense does is not only does it tell you how much data you have left and when it's going to reset, but it also includes settings so that it saves data. For example, you can set it so that images are compressed when they're downloaded in the web browser or whatever, and some graphical elements aren't downloaded at all. And you can set it so that, if Wi-Fi is not available, then apps that would normally, download background data, they don't do that until you're connected to Wi-Fi. So that's really nice. And of course, when you're on Wi-Fi in a browser, it'll download images fully and everything else. It's only on cellular data that it'll compress and choose not to download stuff. But yeah, I find it really nice. I have all the settings turned on to save as much data as possible, because of course 100 megabytes isn't much. And yeah, I actually save quite a bit. I find that 1 megabyte will get me through 4 or 5 websites. So that's pretty nice. Now, Windows Phone doesn't include a basic, notepad type app, but it does come with OneNote. And yeah, that works well enough. You can put in a title, and you can type stuff, and you can put check boxes there so you can actually check them off. So you can make lists. That's pretty nice, and it works really well. And of course, if you take photos, they all show up here. Videos show up here as well. One of the few apps I've downloaded is Adobe Reader. This thing has no native way to look at PDFs, so Adobe Reader does that just fine. The alarm I use quite a bit. I've got a few alarms set here, including a permanent one to remind me to go to one of my classes. And it works really well, and it's nice and easy to use, but the only thing is, you can choose the alarm sound, but you can't set the volume. It plays at a permanently set volume, and you can't change it. That's actually a common complaint about Windows Phone. And for me, the volume is way too loud. If I actually wanted to use this thing to wake me up in the morning, I just couldn't. Or I'd have to make a modified sound file that was really attenuated, because it's way too loud for that purpose. But you can set it actually to vibrate. That would work as well. Put it on something soft and have the noise of the vibration wake you up. But yeah, that's one thing I miss, is the ability to adjust the volume of the alarm. It's got an FM radio, which is really cool. The only thing is you need to have headphones plugged in, because they serve as the antenna. But when headphones are plugged in, you can opt to use the loudspeaker. So that's really nice. And you could probably get a dummy jack that just plugs in the top there that doesn't have an actual headphone cord coming out of it to serve as the antenna. And yeah, it works really well. Reception seems to be really good. It comes with the Here Drive and Here Maps apps, and these are really cool because this thing actually has a built-in GPS receiver, as smartphones usually do now. And this thing actually serves as a bona fide GPS. It's really cool. It's great. It's fully functional. It shows your speed and, you know, live movement and everything. I really like it. You get a suite of stripped down version of the Office apps, which is really nice. You can view Word, Excel, and PowerPoint documents, and you can make edits to them and everything. So that's actually quite cool. A nice little backup if you can't get to a computer and you need to work on a document. Of course, that document has to be either on the phone or on your OneDrive. Of course, like everything else, cloud-based Windows Phone does have seamless integration with OneDrive. Your photos and videos, if you want them to be, they can be backed up to your OneDrive, and that's really cool. You get like 10 or 15 gigabytes for free. Alright, now I'm going to test out the camera. Now, a good friend of mine and fellow YouTuber, Ryan Garrett, he did a review on this phone a couple months back, and he made a very concise statement that the camera on this phone is not very good. And I would agree with that for the most part. The camera on this phone, as far as smartphone cameras go, is pretty mediocre. With that being said, I've never had a phone with a camera on it, so I don't really care. It serves just fine for my purposes. And yeah, while it's not nearly as good as other smartphones, it is good enough. But yeah, it's based on a tiny CMOS sensor. It's pretty noisy. Low light performance is not very good. But when you're in really good lighting, it actually turns out very good quality. It's not great, but it's not terrible, at least for my needs. And this thing does enable something I've always wanted to do for almost as long as I've ever been on YouTube, and that's film videos in public. Now, some people make no bones about going around in public with a digital camera like this, or even with a big camcorder, but I've always been self-conscious of that. I don't want people looking at me wondering what I'm doing. With this thing, you know, everyone's going around with a phone in their hand. I figure with this thing, and especially with the case I got for it, which again I'll show you near the end of this video, the case I got actually flips over the display. So you can have this thing turned on, but nobody would know it because the display's covered. So I can be walking around with this thing in my hand, filming a video, no one would ever know. So I can film videos in public without having to worry about being looked at. And that's really cool. I look forward to filming videos in public with this thing, and actually I've already filmed a lot of test videos in public with this thing, just little short dubby things that I've been doing, not very well produced or anything like that, but yeah, they serve the purpose, and I look forward to showing you guys those videos. Also about the camera, something that's really missing, because this phone's technical predecessor, the 620 and 625 had, was they had a camera flash and they had a selfie camera. This thing has neither of them, and I don't get why. Why would the successor to a particular phone remove two rather significant features from that phone? And you know, that's actually a reoccurring theme with the hardware of the 635. It lacks a lot of hardware that not only the 620 and 625 had, but the 520 had as well. No flash, no selfie camera, no proximity sensor, no light sensor. That's really too bad. But I'll live with it regardless. So in that regard, you know, this thing really is more of a successor to the 520 than to the 620 or 625. But yeah, let's test out the camera. First I'll show you some pictures that I've taken. And now let's test out the video quality. Now this thing only records video in one resolution, 720p, and I kind of wish it offered a 480p setting, but it doesn't. So I guess I'll have to film everything on this in high definition. I know you guys are disappointed, but alright, let's film a video on this. Alright, we're now filming on the Nokia Lumia 635. And well, I don't know how it's going to turn out in real life, but on the display the light sensitivity is actually doing alright, although it does look like there's quite a bit of noise. Obviously no optical zoom. There is digital zoom though, swiping on the display, and you know, it's about as good as digital zoom can get. Now of course, because this is a CMOS sensor, it's sensitive to stuff like magnetically ballasted fluorescent lamps. If I point it at this thing, you can see those yellow lines there. That's the afterglow of the phosphor. If I had this lamp on an electronic ballast, you wouldn't see that. So, here's what everything looks like. Here's my kitchen. It looks almost pitch black, but there is enough light to clearly see everything in here. If we turn this on, there it is. The white balance adjusts very quickly, and that's quite nice. Likewise, the focus seems to adjust very quickly as well. So I think that's about all I can show, but yeah, in really good light, like outdoors in the daytime, the noise actually isn't that bad. This thing makes really good video when there's really sufficient light. There you go, anyhow. There is a nice array of manual settings. You got your shutter speed, your white balance, focus, manual focus if you want. You can even set the ISO, that's pretty novel. And you can adjust the overall exposure of a photo, and it adjusts all the other settings accordingly. That's really nice. I like that there's these manual features. I don't know how many other smartphones provide that. Maybe a lot of them do, I don't know. So yeah, all I can say is, you know, if you're switching from a phone that doesn't have a camera, you've never had a camera phone, the camera on this is certainly good enough. But if you're looking for something that actually has a competent camera and you want to go for Windows Phone, get a higher end model, one of the 700 or 800 series phone. One of the problems, another problem with Windows Phone as a whole, is the apps don't have great quality control. There's a lot of great apps, but there's a lot of pretty crap apps as well. Quality control is not as tight as it is with the iPhone. I don't know how tight quality control is with Android, but you know, Android of course has a huge selection of apps, so there's a lot of potential for a lot of really good apps. But Windows Phone has a relatively small app base, and that combined with quality control not being very tight, it's easy to accidentally download a pretty bad app. Another thing I like about the user interface is if you're on the home screen, or at least in an app that doesn't play any sound, so the volume control doesn't correspond to the app, if you trigger the volume control by pressing one of the volume keys, it'll tell you what the volume of the ringer is, and you can adjust it just like this if you want. That's really nice. And the ringer volume and the app volume are separate, so that's really nice. And the ringer volume also corresponds to notifications if you get a text, or if you have a sound alert set for email or Facebook or whatever. And you can also turn the vibrate on or off, and if vibrate's on and there's no sound, the small window just says vibrate. So yeah, that's really nice. A really easy to use and quick system to just, you know, put the phone on vibrate if you want, or just quickly set the volume. And yeah, very nice. Big plus. Oops. Well, I think I've covered just about everything about this phone that I could think to talk about. I got one more last thing to show though, and that's Cortana. Of course, Cortana debuted on Windows Phone 8.1, and of course it's the competitor to Siri and Google now. And yeah, all I can really say about Cortana is that she works really well. And most places I read say that Cortana is overall more functional than Siri, slightly anyway. I think there are a couple of areas where Siri trumps it, but overall for usefulness, Cortana seems to be pretty top-notch of all the smartphone platforms. Anyway, easiest way to call her up is just press the search button and she comes up. And actually I should turn my volume up. And yeah, you can ask her to set alarms or ask her where, well, apparently where there's a cheap pizza restaurant, or, you know, move scheduled events around. Brandon says his favorite thing to use Cortana for is that she wakes him up in the morning, and then he tells her to wake him up in another half hour, and he does that 6 or 7 times before he finally gets out of bed. She'll also answer pretty dumb questions too. Actually, she'll answer a lot of dumb questions, which is pretty cool. Who am I?
Trent.
Fair enough. How much wood would a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood?
Nicely done.
Thank you. Set an alarm for 1 minute from now. Ah, here's another problem. For some reason, even for the most basic stuff, you need an internet connection. If you don't have one, she won't work.
I didn't get that.
And that's the response you'll get. Yeah, even to set alarms and stuff, you need an internet connection for Cortana to work. I think that's kind of dumb, but I guess I get why they make it completely internet-based, so it reduces the size of the program. Set an alarm for 1 minute from now.
Okay, your alarm is set for 3:02 a.m.
Oh god, that's what time it is? Oh, it turned 3:02. What is totalitarianism? If sometimes it'll answer questions like that verbally, other times it'll just Bing it, show you a list of results. Who is Bill Gates?
Bill Gates is an American business magnate, philanthropist, investor, computer programmer, and inventor.
Who is Steve Jobs?
Steve Jobs was an American entrepreneur, marketer, and inventor, who was the co-founder, chairman, and CEO of Apple Inc. Through Apple, he is widely recognized as a charismatic and design-driven pioneer of the personal computer revolution and for his influential career in the computer and consumer electronics fields, transforming one industry after another, from computers and smartphones to music and movies.
Wow, she went into a lot more detail with him than she did with Bill Gates. Who is the Maritime Man?
Alright, here's the Maritime Man 2.
Oh man, it just opened up one of my spare email accounts, and then the way she pronounced it was hilarious. I want to hear that again. That was hilarious. Open the Maritime Man 2.
Sure thing. Starting the Maritime Man 2.
The Maritime Man, or yeah, the Maritime Man 2. That's friggin' hilarious. Well, you know, guys, I think I covered everything I wanted to say about this phone. Final verdict. Hardware. Very good build quality, and the design is excellent. I can't say much more than that. I think it's missing quite a few hardware features that it should have had. A camera flash, a front camera, stuff like that. But you know, if this thing's really supposed to be a successor to the 520, then you know it's all right without those features. Camera, not that great, but you know, if you've never had a camera phone or you don't really care about the camera, it certainly serves the purpose just fine. Loudspeaker is excellent. The Windows Phone user interface, I love it. I love most of the aspects of it. There's some, you know, things that ought to be tweaked. The graphical glitch with the People Hub, that should be fixed. It'd be awesome if they moved Facebook messaging back into the text messaging app. The music player, it'd be nice if they, you know, overhauled the user interface on that. But yeah, overall, this is a wonderful phone. I don't regret for even a second choosing this thing. Not that I had much choice. I mean, I had to get an unlocked phone, and really the only reliable place to get a Lumia phone is the Microsoft Web Store, and this was the cheapest one in the Microsoft Web Store. If they had had the 520 there, I might have even gotten the 520, but they didn't. This was the cheapest Windows phone they had for sale there. But yeah, excellent phone. You know, if you're in the market for a cheap smartphone, or you know, you're switching from another platform and you want a cheap way to test out that platform, I would totally recommend this in a heartbeat. Really wonderful phone. Glad I have it. Like I said earlier, I'm planning on this thing lasting me for at least a few years, and yeah, I think I'm gonna be very happy with this thing. So now, let me show the case I got for this thing. Now, when I was choosing a case for this thing, because, you know, I absolutely wanted a case. If this phone's gonna last me as long as I plan on it lasting me, I want to keep it protected. And I was torn between two cases. It was a really hard decision to choose between them. One was it was called the Mozo flip case, I believe, and what it did was it actually replaced the back cover. You took the back cover off, and the Mozo flip case actually became the new back cover, and it had a felt thing which flipped over to cover the display. And I would have chosen that over the other case I was looking at if it weren't for one thing, and that was, you know, the aesthetics. The Mozo flip cover had a white back and a gray flip, which is really odd because the color was called black. Apparently black is white with a gray cover. So yeah, if they had offered it in an actual black cover, I would have chosen it over the other case, but I decided eventually to go with the other case, not only for aesthetics, but because I like the idea of keeping the back cover and having something extra over that. And I'm actually extremely happy with the case, and I'm glad I chose it over the other one. Here it is. This is the Crucial Karuna flip case, and it's a leather case designed in Sweden, made in Thailand, and it was 25 bucks. And this is a really excellent case. I love it, and I would recommend it in a heartbeat. I'll slide the phone into it now. I never take the phone out of this thing. I just did it for this video. It's the first time I've ever had it out. It just slides in like that, and flips over like that. And yeah, it's a really excellent case. It isn't too bulky. You got the flip to protect the display. It does have apertures for the earpiece and the microphone and the loudspeaker. So you can even talk on the phone with it closed. And yeah, it's really nice, and it's got openings for all the buttons. The buttons are easy to get to and everything else. Really super case. I love it a lot. You've got a slot for a credit card or whatever. And it's a magnetic closure. See there? And as I mentioned near the beginning of the video, it makes it so the camera doesn't stick out anymore, so you're not going to get your camera scratched up. And yeah, really wonderful. The only thing is, if you want to fold it back to hold the phone in one hand, it doesn't fold flat. It goes like that, although you can press it down and make it flat. But there is an upside to that. You get a lot more surface area to grip the phone, so even less chance of dropping it. Anyway, yeah, very high quality and well designed case. I'd recommend it right along with this phone. Alright guys, it's 3:30 in the morning. I'm getting really tired. I think I've covered everything I wanted to say about this phone. Yeah, I totally recommend this to anyone for the reasons I've already stated. Whether it's your first smartphone, or you want to switch to Windows Phone, or you just need a cheap smartphone, it's really, really great. I hope they get Lumia Denim on it soon. I'd like to see some of the gripes I have with the user interface fixed. And I have read that this might actually support Windows Phone 10 when it comes out, and I hope it does, because that'd be really awesome. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed. Man, this thing's going to be like over an hour long. And I will see you later. Bye-bye. Alright, we're plugged in now, so I will hit the power button. And there we go, and you can see that awesome old-fashioned style LED display. These things very, very well. I'm not sure if they were sold in the United States, but here in Canada these things were rampant. Very, very popular. I've seen one in almost every house I've ever been to. Some houses, more than one.